Hello, back with another Path of Exile 2 video. So, 0.4 is brought out the Druid, and to be honest, the skill and the class and the ascendancies, yeah, it looks amazing. But we all know I'm a bit of a Monk fanboy, so I'll be running Monk in 0.4. And if you click on this video, it means you plan to probably run Monk in 0.4. And I'm going to explain some changes to both the Invoker, the Acolyte of Chayula, and some skills and how it will affect you in 0.4 and the overall build. Just quickly going to say, the build that I'm currently running will be pretty much viable in the new update, bar a few changes and a few bits on the passive tree. So if you are interested, I will leave this link down below for my mobilytics. Go click on it, and then I'll update it obviously once we fully understand all the new skills and new support gems, etc. Right, without further ado, let's talk through what's changed. So on Evoker, Protect Me From Harm now has 35% less evasion rating instead of 50%, but I've never ever used this skill. I don't know anyone that uses this skill. If you do use this skill, can you leave a comment below? I would love to see a build around this. And yeah, let's move on to the next one. The Soul Springs Eternal. So the Soul Springs Eternal gives meta skills 35% more energy, okay, which means that they gain 35% more energy, which means that they get their energy quicker, which means that they then release whatever they need to release. For me, with Cast on Critical, once it gets to 100% energy, it will then release Profane Ritual, which will then obviously consume the corpse, give me my power charges, and this allows me to flicker and stuff like that. But they've changed it. So they've now changed it to meta skills have 50% increased spirit reservation efficiency. This is huge, okay? So if we quickly go to the skill gems, and we go to all gems and go to meta, all these skills here, meta skills, which means they're all going to have 50% less spirit cost, okay? So cast an elemental ailment, that's going to cost 50 spirit. Blasphemy is going to cost 30 spirit per socket of curse, which means you can, technically, you're going to get 2 for the price of 1, alright? You go out of this and go to curses, so go to skills and go to curses. Enfeeble, temporal chains, elemental weakness, vulnerability, all these are ones that you can sock into blasphemy. So you could run a double, you could run Enfeeble, temporal chains, you could probably run elemental weakness, vulnerability, unless they change it like a, where you can only run 1 in 1, but it doesn't say anything about that. It's going to be a massive buff for the Invoker, which means that this 240 spirit, or 244 spirit, you can run multiple different skills. So double unset rings are probably going to be the go-to. Also, to make it even better, don't forget you can get spirit reservation on your chest and your helmet, and I'm pretty sure you can get on your boots as well. So if you've got, let's say, 10 on here or something, 11 on here and 9 on here, and you've got 20%, that means that every spirit skill you have will cost 20% less spirit, and your meta skills will cost 70% less spirit, which makes things just very viable. It could probably mean that you don't actually have to run Lead Me Through Grace. Obviously you probably would, but you might not have to. What I would probably do with this is probably I would remove Unbound Avatar and then put these 2 on here, okay, which gives you more spell damage, and then here. Just imagine like comets. Also with Cast on Crit, comets, they're just constant, okay? Just absolutely bombard them. Elemental Invocation is also getting a buff. It now has 25 to 68% more increased energy rather than 12 to 57. So again, that's a huge buff. But they've also niced the Acolyte of Chayula. So what they've done with him is they've gone and changed Embrace the Darkness, and they've gone and do it so it gives you 100 to maximum darkness per level, which was previously 8. So that's an increase of 2. Into the Breach skills granted by Walking Dream, so red flames, blue flames, etc. So red flames now give you 15% life leech, it was previously 7. Blue flames now give you 15% mana leech, it was previously 7. Purple flames now last 8 seconds instead of 5 seconds, and then now the flames are created closer to you. And then Choice of Power, Choice of Life, and Choice of Mana now also grant 50% increased effect of remnants and 50% increased remnant pickup range. Also, Void Illusion skill, Grasp of the Void, now has a cooldown of 4 seconds instead of 6. It has a 350% to 1268% attack damage increase instead of 185 to 670, and a cooldown of 3 charges instead of 1. So if you pair the Acolyte of Chayula with Escher's Radiance, Zoth's Fire, Tull's Stillness, Ulnatal's Embrace, these all now gain 40% of their respective damage, so lightning, cold, physical, and fire, as chaos damage instead of 20%. This is a huge increase. Uruk Smelting also now grants fully breaking armor with support skills, cause effective skills to permanently take 5% increased physical damage, up to 20%. It was 2 up to 20. Then we're going to go with Ailith chimes. Okay, Ailith chimes has changed quite a bit, so you now get a 25% chance to gain a power charge when expending combo instead of a 10%, so you got 15% extra, but they have nerfed culmination, so you don't get as high combo as you used to, because obviously culmination used to just basically rack that combo up, drop something insane like Falling Thunder, and just absolutely one-shot bosses. The palm skills have been changed dramatically. Killing Palm, Staggering Palm, and Shattering Palm, they all now target extra enemies. They also dash quickly, and Killing Palm now grants a power charge if a colourable enemy dies. Shattering Palm now causes an explosion if the enemy you dash into dies. And then Nova projectiles from Staggering Palm now do 61 to 204% of that damage. And then the projectile duration will start decreasing after the first projectile has been generated. And the buff is primed when the enemy is stunned or killed while you're dashing to them. Okay, so that's quite a lot of AoE, if that makes sense. Also, Tempest Bell. Tempest Bell has been increased. It now has a larger impact radius, a larger shockwave radius, and a larger hitbox. Also, Resolve kind of don't work when you got Chaos Inoculation, but this gives you instant recovery and excess light recovery added as guard for 10 seconds. So guard is basically a buff that provides a buffer against damage. It's now 20 seconds, which means you're going to have a larger buffer, so therefore you're going to be more tankier. So possibly not be worth running Headhunt. Probably need to go back to the Satchel or Chaos Resistance and don't take Chaos Inoculation. The other thing that's changed as well is these here, okay? So your Runes of the Sky, stuff like that, you have Runes of Agony, your Idol Sirius and stuff, they're now been limited to 1, alright? Because normally you could some people would rack 3 in here, which means you give a 15% extra damage to all elements. It's workable. They've been limited to 1, but that means you could obviously play around with it. You can maybe have 5% extra as all elements, and then maybe look at getting the one with chaos damage or the 30% elemental damage and stuff. We'll just have to play around with it. If you are planning to get big damage, okay, realistically you need to get this buff here next season, critical damage bonus. This is how my Flicker Strike 741,000. As you can see, it's got a critical damage bonus of 1,017%. But with charge regulation, I get power charges, and it quickly buffs it to over 1,000,000 DPS. And as you can see, it goes up. This charge regulation has changed as well. So instead of getting 15% more skill speed when you have a frenzy charge, you now get, no longer grants more skill speed while you have a frenzy charge. It now grants 24 to 25% increased skill speed while you have a frenzy charge. Okay, so instead of it being more, it's now increased. The other nerf is Perfect Essence of Battle. That now grants 5 to level of attack skills instead of 6. Okay, obviously if you're in standard you can change this with Divine Orbs, but why would you do that? Yeah, I think the Monk, in particular the Invoker, is going to be very, very, very strong. Okay, I feel like there's going to be some really, really crazy builds, some absolute meta builds, let's say, and I don't mean in terms of the one to play, I mean as in using the meta gems. I will plan to use Cast on Critical again with that, because it's gonna cost you what, 45.5 spirit to use Cast on Critical with the new skill, the new Ascendancy. Okay, so I will plan to use quite a lot of these, maybe throw some pretty crazy skills into it. Blasphemy, probably. Let's see if I can get Elemental Weakness all around the enemies. There's been some buffs to Glacial Cascade. There's been a few buffs to the Monk as well. Obviously the Freezing Marks, you could probably use them on your casts if necessary. Yeah, some big changes. Look out for Monk, especially Invoker. Okay, I feel like it's gonna be up there with the top DPS, single target, and the fact that it's also getting 3 new area of attack effect clusters. Okay, don't know where they're going to be, but you're getting 3 new area of attack clusters somewhere in the Monk passive tree. I reckon it's probably going to be around about here. I reckon this is going to change because it's a bit bare, which would probably make sense, or they might end up putting it maybe around his side or something like that, branch off here and change it around. But yeah, it's giving more AoE, because if you look at, again, like I said, with Killing Palm, Shattering Palm and Staggering Palm, it says if the target dies while you are dashing to them. So if you target AoE and you dash and Herald of Thunder hits it, I think that's how it's going to work or something like that. But excited. I'm going to be streaming all week next week, okay, at 8 PM. So it'll be Monday to Thursday will be 8 PM, and then Friday I'll be live from 6 PM at GMT. I'll be updating my Mobalytics build. I'll leave a link in the description before. This will work in 0.4, okay, just have to change a few things, and I'll update it as and when. I'll see if I can update it as soon as Mobalytics get all the new skill gems and stuff on it, or remove them. And yeah, If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, comment and subscribe. Stay safe. Peace.